Hello everyone, my name is Tom, I am the Sugma male, as you should all know. I played The Last of Us a lot when it first came out, so when I saw that HBO Max was doing a live-action remake, I was like, I feel like I don't need to watch this. I feel like that's not necessary for me to do. So I wasn't watching until this past week. The internet just went crazy over episode 3, saying it was different, saying that they deviated and told this incredible story that had people bawling their eyes out. And personally, I was like, okay, we're not far enough into the series where I feel like I need to spend hours catching up. I mean, technically I did, since each episode is over an hour. But it was easy enough to just, download that down to my consciousness and be like, okay, I'm caught up. I watched episode 1 and 2. Now I can watch episode 3, see what all the hubbub is about. And I'm gonna be honest, I did not feel the same way that a lot of people felt. In fact, I don't think I felt the way that really anyone I've seen has felt. Because on one hand, I'm not identifying with the people who are like, they wokeified it, they made it go woke, because that's ridiculous, because it's not what happened. But I'm not on the same page as everyone who was like, oh my god, this was an incredible, beautiful thing. Now, first of all, I do want to just, give my thoughts on the show itself, because I played the game a lot. I've played through the game a lot. I'm very familiar with the original text. So, for one, it's really weird seeing how many, cross-promotions are happening now, 10 years after the fact, with this story that I once was very immersed in. Whereas now I'm like, okay, that's 10 years ago. But now you're seeing, all the cross-promotions and stuff. I'm like, man, where was this 10 years ago? Because then I would have actually cared. At least a lot more than I do now. Another thing is, a big difference that I noticed between the mediums. That, a big difference that was, core to the experience of The Last of Us before. That is just inherently not there now, is the fact that you cannot become immersed as much in a TV show compared to a video game. If there's a scene where there should be tension, the tension is not going to be the same because you know that you're watching a TV show. Part of it is also the fact that I know the story enough to know, okay, this character's not supposed to die yet. This character's gonna die in 10 minutes, but not right now. This is not how the character dies. Whereas in the game, because of the fact that you are controlling the characters, you feel some sense of, responsibility over their safety, and you know that you can get them killed. And if you get them killed, that's gonna be scary. There's gonna be a sound effect, and they're gonna scream, and there's gonna be a zombie, biting at their neck and stuff, and it's gonna be spooky, and your heart rate's gonna go up, and it's not gonna be fun. And then you're just gonna be thrown right back in to try again. That's something that you cannot transfer from a video game into a TV show. So that definitely, I think, affects the experience to some degree. I also do want to give the actors props, even though none of them necessarily look like the characters they're portraying, as far as Ellie, Tess, Joel, even Joel's daughter. I think Pedro Pascal looks the most like Joel, but Joel is also very generic looking. I look like Joel. I mean, dude, look at me right now. I could go and play Joel. I'm a little short, but yeah, no, there was never a moment where, despite the fact that the characters don't really look the same, I questioned that they are supposed to be the same character. They all do a very good job. Ellie's actor, who I forget her name, but I know that she was also Hilda in the Hilda cartoon. I know that she's also her. She did a really good job of capturing Ellie's just smartassery. I think that they're all doing a really good job. And also on the website that I used to legally watch The Last of Us, the way that the episodes were ordered were in reverse, so I actually watched some of episode 3 before I realized this is not the first episode, so I had to go back and watch the first episode. And something I noticed that nobody's talking about is there's a dialogue between Ellie and Joel, the third episode, talking about how the virus spread, and he was like, yeah, it was in the grain, and different types of breads, pancake mix, specifically mentions pancake mix, gets in the supply on Thursday, people go to the store, buy it on Friday, and then by the weekend everyone's infected. And something I noticed with that knowledge, with that background going into the first episode, literally the first scene was Joel's daughter being like, oh, we were supposed to have pancakes, but you didn't buy pancake mix. And then throughout the episode, there are multiple times where they would have eaten something that contained grain, but then they didn't, just by happenstance. They go out to a car, and then the neighbors offer Joel a biscuit, and he's like, I'm on Atkins. And then, he's supposed to pick up a birthday cake on the way home, but then he forgets the birthday cake. So I thought that was interesting how they incorporated a bunch of moments where it's they would have been infected if they actually, this thing happened, and they just got very lucky to not be infected. I thought that was a really interesting little thing to add in there. And that was also stuff that, wasn't in the original game, because the game started at the night when Joel's coming home from work, and his daughter was like up waiting for him. But let's actually get to what we're here to talk about, and that's being gay. First off, before I even say anything about this, I want to be very clear. Bill was gay. Bill was always gay. They did not wokeify this. Bill was always a gay character. If you played the game and you paid attention, you would know Bill is gay. Granted, we never met his partner Frank in the game because Frank had a similar fate as he did in this episode. I also noticed that they made the characters much older, I think. I'm not sure about Joel because he was definitely over 30 before the time skip in the game, and he's definitely in his 50s or close to his 50s in the main timeline, but they made him 56 in this, which I don't know. Pedro Pascal does not look like he's 56 in a post-apocalyptic situation. I mean, that's just me personally. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. I'm 25, so I feel like maybe my take on that is a little weird, but I definitely don't think that Bill looked as old in the game as he does once they get to like the present timeline of Bill. But the point is, Bill was always gay. When Frank was brought up, when Joel asked who Frank was, Bill said his partner. And you might be thinking, well, partner doesn't necessarily mean, you know, a relationship. That can just be like, oh, they were partners in crime, they were partners in a platonic sense, just like they were comrades. But the way that Bill said it kind of implied, like, I think that most people, when they played the game and Bill said he was my partner, everyone kind of connected the dots to be like, oh. But like that could be like, you know, you're reading into it too much, which was why they also put in this scene to very explicitly tell you.
I'm sure your friend will be missing this tonight. Light on the reading, but it's got some interesting photos.
Now, Ellie, that ain't for kids.
Whoa! How the hell would he even walk around with that thing?
Get rid of that.
Now, hold your horses. I want to see what all the fuss is about. Oh, why are these all stuck together?
Based on that scene, either Bill is gay, or Bill is the most heterosexual man in the world, or he just appreciates the male form and is able to just look at massive penises on naked men and in just a totally platonic way, just admiring the masculinity, taking that all in a very heterosexual manner. You know, it's not confirmed that he's gay. Sucking a dick ain't gay. But anyways, I do have a criticism towards this episode in the way that they portrayed Bill, because this episode was very wholesome, and in the game Bill was not wholesome. Bill was a dirtbag. Bill was a miserable prick. I'ma be honest, sometimes representation doesn't always have to be positive. Sometimes you can make marginalized people who are just assholes. I feel like that's an important part of representation that we oftentimes do not feel is necessary to include, but I think it's necessary. Because not everyone can identify with this WeHo brunch gay archetype that they kind of gave to Bill and Frank. But I'm sure that there is some insufferable doomsday prepper on Grindr somewhere who deserves to be represented as well. He deserves to have his stories told, where his ex-boyfriend was mad at him and stole his car battery in a post-apocalyptic situation. I think that deserves representation. Now, this is not a hill I'm trying to die on. I'm not trying to tell anyone that, like, you know, you should be mad about this. You should be upset about this. Look at my face. Do I look outraged? I'm not. This is part of why I'm doing this in this capacity through this medium instead of like tweeting about it, because in a tweet people can assign whatever emotion they want. They can be like, look how mad you are, while you're sitting there like, so I'm doing this right here so that you know, like, you can see my emotion, you can see that I'm not upset about this. It's just like a minor criticism that I've not seen anyone give, and it's really, it's such a little thing, but I feel like we are kind of like adverse to acknowledging that squeaky clean representation is kind of boring, and it's not really that relatable, and it's kind of hard to resonate with. Because to be honest, I probably identify more with the Bill of the game than the Bill that we see in this HBO Max series. Like, me personally. I mean, maybe relatable is not the right term, but I feel like the original Bill was just more, it felt more real, you know? And that's kind of more what I'm trying to get at. I'm not trying to rain on anybody's parade. If you're happy about the way that they portrayed Bill, if you're happy about the changes, then more power to you. And that's all I gotta say.